Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Onion Soup, the show where we pull back the layers of metaphysics and reality in order to demystify spirituality. Today, we have spiritual mentor Tarak Uday, and I'm just really excited to talk about this. Like, how are you doing today, Mr. Tarak?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you today?
Doing pretty wonderful. It's a beautiful day. It's a little chilly in here, obviously, so
Yeah.
I grab my blanket.
Yeah, I got me a little hot tea.
Yeah, yeah, gotta
Yeah. Yeah, some
gotta have
ginger
some
tea.
chai.
It's still a little
So,
too hot, a little too hot still.
oh, I like that mug.
Yeah, thank you.
So, it was funny because I was like, "What exactly should we cover today?" And when I was meditating on it, I just got stuck on your structure of the mind, and I just couldn't
Mhm.
get past that. So I really wanna dive into that and talk about your ideas and how you approach consciousness, subconscious, and the superconsciousness.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, that's one topic that I really love to dive deep into, just because I know that the more, at least from my experience and the experience of those that I've taught and learned with as well and mentored, the more that you understand the metaphysical mechanics of your mind,
Mm,
one, the easier it is to understand the experiences that you have, especially when you're first starting off getting into like a spiritual awakening and you're having these different dreams or any out of body experiences or any sort of non physical communication or anything going on with your mind. It's a lot easier to understand what's going on. And with that, it kind of exactly like what your show talks about demystifies a lot of the some misconceptions with spirituality, or because the whole thing of fear is just a matter of misunderstanding.
right.
So it alleviates any sort of fear within any particular experience that one may or may not have. So just things like that, and understanding the mind, I think, really helps to understand more about yourself,
Mm,
because then you understand you are more than the physical body. You can kind of identify and label what each part of yourself is, the subconscious mind, what it is,
mm,
what a subconscious thought is, what is contained within the subconscious, and being able to better separate and identify what's conscious, what's subconscious, what's superconscious,
mm,
what's third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, because you hear a lot of people talk about these different dimensions
right.
and things without really any context as to what they actually are. Oh,
Mm,
fifth dimension is kind of like this. And it's like, no, the fifth dimension are dimensions. Here are the five dimensions. In this 3D reality, we have, longitude, latitude, and altitude. Those are the three dimensions. Well, the fourth dimension is time. The fifth dimension is space. Here are these dimensions. And then we can understand how we can freely move through there. And so, for example, the fourth dimension with the subconscious mind, then you can start to understand how you can access past life experiences.
right.
People talk about the Akashic records and things, and I know a lot of people in spirituality who can do these different things, communicate with ancestors, go into the Akashic records, and report back to you different things that they perceive within your past lives or their own, but not necessarily understand the mechanics of how their mind is doing it.
Mm.
And so when you understand the mechanics, you can go a lot deeper with that and strengthen those abilities that you have and that you develop.
So what are those mechanics when we talk about the subconscious mind?
Yeah. So, for example, like the subconscious mind, knowing and identifying that the subconscious mind is the mind that your soul uses, and primarily, let's take a step back and primarily understand that you're not a physical body, you're not a soul, you're not a spirit, you're not the mind, you're not the emotions, but you are your consciousness.
Mm,
All of these other things are able to be observed by the consciousness, but the consciousness is unable to observe itself. That's why a lot of people have a hard time describing what consciousness is, because it's inobservable, because that is your true essence, your real self, your I am.
mm,
And so these other different things, the physical body is a vehicle for your consciousness to experience this 3D reality. the soul is a vehicle for your consciousness to experience the fourth dimension, and your spirit is the vehicle that your consciousness uses to traverse the fifth dimension.
Mm,
The spirit uses the superconscious mind, the soul uses the subconscious mind, and the physical body uses this conscious mind. And so understanding more of who you are and understanding more of the labels of what these things are and how they function is the mechanics. Just like this
mm,
vehicle, understanding that my arm has a different way of functioning than my legs, and then understanding how those mechanics work will allow you to be a better runner or a better builder or using these different parts of the body. And so the same thing with understanding more of the subconscious mind and how it
mhm.
works will help you to understand how to increase your intuition and your mental perception and the different abilities of the subconscious mind.
Wow. So you mentioned the Akashic Records. So you're saying
Mhm.
that when someone talks about the Akashic Records and even anything to do with their past lives, that's a soul understanding of what's going on?
Yeah, well, the Akashic Records is like a record of all that's vibrated. The word Sanskrit word Akasha means the all, and
Mhm,
so it's located in the middle of the subconscious mind. That's why, like in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, it calls the Akashic Records the halls of Amente, and
mhm,
it says that the halls of Amente are located within the center of the earth. And in the universal language of the mind, which is the language that your dreams are decoded in, the language that holy scriptures are all decoded in, the earth represents subconscious mind. And so there's lots of different ways where you can see this, but this is where holy scriptures have indicated kind of roadmaps of things that you can access. And so when
mm,
you understand in the subconscious mind, you have the emotional level, which is the first level that you move into, then the lower astral and upper astral, and then the mental level at the deepest portion of the subconscious mind. Right in the middle of there is in between the lower and upper astral levels. And that's where you can locate the Akashic records. And so it's not necessarily records of a soul, but all souls and all essence of everything that's ever reverberated. And so you
mm,
can go there and perceive all of the different lives that you've lived. You can perceive into different lines of probability within the future, and it's just a library for you to access within the fourth dimension, which is free of time. So people
mm,
like to talk about different timelines and things, and you can
right.
experience all of that within all of the timelines possible, within the Akashic records. And just go there like a library and study.
Interesting. So I have 2 questions. The first one
Yeah.
is, I've actually never heard anybody mention the lower and upper astral. I didn't know there are
Mhm.
different differences. I didn't know there was a lower and upper astral realm.
Yeah, well, there's also it's just subtle differences, and there's subtle differences of energy. It's just one realm resonates at a higher frequency than
Mm,
the other. There's definitely different qualities to it and things, and I touch on that in the book, Structure of the Mind, how to identify which level you're in. Um, the whole purpose of the subconscious mind is to hold the understandings that you build within your life. And
mm,
the job of the subconscious mind, what it's actually doing is to manifest the desires of your conscious mind. And
mm,
so, subconscious and conscious minds both create to like work together to create, just like how a man and a woman come together to create life in the physical reality.
mhm,
The seed thought of the conscious mind implants into the womb of the subconscious mind, where that thought form will germinate and gestate and gain and build density until it's birthed out into the physical. And
mm,
so it is planted within the mental level, which is the deepest part of the subconscious mind. And then as it builds in chitta, mind substance, it begins to grow and grow. And since it's building in density, it's falling closer to the outer conscious reality.
mhm,
And the first place it moves into is the upper astral level, which is all about like expansive thoughts. So for example, because the mind is going within yourself. In the subconscious mind, you're closing off your outer reality and you're going inward into your inner reality.
mm,
So if our thoughts create our reality, then these different levels of mind can help us identify how far each thought has manifested. So, for example, if you want to have and create for yourself, maybe you're an irresponsible person, you want to create becoming a responsible person.
mhm,
You first have to implant an idea of that seed thought within your mind. That's the very first thing. And then as that idea first starts to take root, you start thinking of all the different expansive possibilities
Mm,
that could result from you being a responsible person, how you will be a responsible person, or actually, one thing that may be even easier to kind of convey this message is like money. People like to talk about money and manifesting money and understanding manifestation through money. I like to teach through that also because it gives you a very clear way how to identify your success.
right.
But so say, let's say $1,000. I want to manifest $1,000. When I first have the idea of boom, I want to manifest $1,000, I've incepted my mind with that seed thought, and now my mind can expand out into all the expansive possibilities of different ways that I can manifest $1,000 for myself. That's kind of the energy of the upper astral. And then as it moves into the lower astral, that quality is all about contraction. Out of all these infinite possibilities that
Mm,
I can manifest $1,000 for myself, here are the ones that are most likely. Here are the ones that are most probable. Here are the ones that will be with the most ease and flow with what I already have going on with my life.
mm,
And so now it's contracted down to these. And now that I see these different possibilities that are more likely than me just walking outside and there's $1,000 in my mailbox, because that's one possibility. But now these that is contracted down to are far more likely. I get an email from some lawyer, and there was a T-Mobile class action lawsuit where if you
mm,
had T-Mobile between the years 2012 and 2015, and then you get a part of this class action lawsuit, sign up and you'll get your $1,000. Oh, I had T-Mobile all those years, 2012,
mm,
2013. I can see that as far more likely of happening for $1,000 to show up in my mailbox, or for $1,000 to show up for me, than just it magically appearing in my mailbox. And so now I start to get excited. And so now that thought form's moving into the emotional level, which is all about, having the feeling, the excitement of what you are wanting to manifest is birthing out into your reality. So I know
mm.
you asked about the difference between upper and lower, but I thought that was a great way through all four levels to
Yeah.
better understand, how I would convey the qualities of the difference between the upper and lower astral.
For sure, for sure. It's basically like how you take a thought of anything that you're trying to manifest and how you crystallize that thought into our reality. How you have to first
Exactly.
have the thought to perceive it and then allow
Hmm.
for those synchronicities to take place. And then you get excited, you feel the emotion, you feel it within your body, and then boom, there it is in your physical reality. So
Exactly.
yeah, I think that
Exactly.
was a perfect analogy with the money. But, right. The other question was about the Akashic Records. So,
Hmm.
a lot of times when I read about the Akashic Records, people talk about a almost like a golden beam of light being plumed into their body, into their being.
Hmm.
How does somebody read the Akashic Records if that was something that they wanted to do?
Yeah, so it's through images. It's not like you're gonna go show up somewhere and open up a book and start reading.
Right.
Anybody who's ever had a lucid dream or astral projection and tried to read something and then reread it, you know that it is not happening reading any information. But we also have to understand, like I said, we're going within into the inner levels of the mind, and the mind communicate. You have to understand how the mind communicates. The mind communicates in images. That's why our dreams are in images. They're messages to us from our subconscious mind to our waking conscious mind. And so when we dream in images, or when we think in images, then we can better understand how our mind is communicating when we understand those what those images mean. Because, like, for example, I always give the example of uh, asking people to think of a balloon. you
Mm,
know you can easily tell me what color the balloon what was that you thought of, because it's an image within your mind.
mm.
I mean, like, what color did you think of?
Thought of a red balloon, but then I asked
A red
myself
balloon.
why.
Yeah. Yeah, red is usually the number one color I get, and then blue. But, I mean, if you use memory, what is what was the color of your first car, you know? When you think of your first car, you can say the color. When if I say, think of $1 million, you're gonna see it in your mind. Some people, they might just see the word $1 million, but that's still an image they're seeing within their mind. So we see in images, we think in images, and when we go into the subconscious mind and have these subconscious experiences, we're also perceiving that information through images. So when you go into the Akashic records, it's the information and knowledge that you're receiving is going to be received through images.
Mm, interesting. So
Mhm.
let's talk about the mechanisms of consciousness. What are the mechanisms involving consciousness?
Well, consciousness is dual. You know, you have the content of consciousness and the state of consciousness.
Mm.
Like right now, what would you maybe best label your current state of consciousness?
Uh, learning and achieving more awareness. Is that an
Okay,
answer?
learning. So that's the state of your consciousness, right? And so what are the thoughts that you're having right now that form that state of consciousness?
For me, when I think about, forming that consciousness, it's all about expansion, expanding
Mhm,
my own intuition, but really getting the knowledge out there. By having conversations like these, one, it
mhm.
helps others, but it also helps me, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it
yeah,
helps me grow.
exactly. And so those are the thoughts that make up your learning state of mind. You
Mhm,
know, your state of consciousness. Just like the room that you're in, right? The room, because places in dreams, and I talk about dreams a lot just because they're ways in which we move into our inner mind. And it's all through understanding the coding and language within the dreams, we can also understand that same information of, astral projection experiences, Akashic records, readings, and experiences. But the place that you exist is going to reflect the place where you exist within your mind. Now, the room that you're in right now, what would you call the room that you're in right now?
mhm. Depends on the day, but usually I just call it the studio.
The studio, exactly, the studio. But what makes it the studio? The content, the
Yeah,
contents within that room. Because you could take all those contents out, it'd be the exact same room, but you put a kitchen sink in there and a refrigerator and a stove, and you wouldn't call it a studio anymore, unless you were a chef.
yeah.
You'd call it a kitchen. And so, the same thing with your mind. The mind works the same way. You have the state of consciousness, and then you have the content of consciousness, the thoughts that determine what frequency that state of consciousness is resonating at. But that's kind of a good way to answer your question. But a more accurate way, as far as the mechanics of consciousness, is just essence, being, existence. And then, but the quality of your consciousness is going to determine what state you exist within. And then your physical reality is a direct reflection of your inner reality. So then it'll also, reflect what place you exist within and your direct environment that you exist within,
So
which people sometimes talk about.
how does one kind of affect the quality of their consciousness? Like, say if you wanted to improve the quality of your consciousness, how do you go about doing that?
Okay, how do you go about improving your studio?
Oh, okay, fair enough. Clean it up or see the things that I feel like need to be changed and addressed, and then
Exactly,
do
exactly. If you
do
see if you see an empty water bottle sitting there, and then do I remove that? It's no longer necessary. So it's
mm,
just like when you identify a thought that has no benefit for you, and then you remove that from the space within your mind. Sometimes it's easier to, when doing that, it's easier to replace it with something else. So people, that's why people utilize affirmations and things. Me, I always, encourage people to turn their affirmations into mantras, because if there's a thought that I have of I need more money, man, I need more money. I mean, I go then you're thinking that thought unconsciously, subconsciously, so many more times than the 10 times you're saying, I have more than I need from your affirmation.
mm,
You're going to the store, I need more money. You're getting a bill on the phone, I need more money. I mean, you're getting your paycheck. I
right,
need more money. This ain't enough. So you're unconsciously thinking this all the time. You're driving down the street and you're seeing all these nicer cars. Man, I need more money to have
mm,
those. And so that's why I encourage to have your affirmation into a mantra where you're just 1,000 times a day. I'm worthy. I'm valuable. I deserve everything I desire. I'm worthy. I'm valuable. I deserve everything I desire. I have more than I need. I'm worthy. I'm valuable. I have more than I need. I'm worthy. I'm valuable. I have more than I need. And so that's a way where you can replace some of the content within your consciousness.
mm. Wow, I love that, and I love talking about
Yeah.
how people can reprogram their minds. I feel like a
Hmm.
lot of it's just old programming where we feel like a lot of people's thought process come from a place of lack,
Yeah.
and just not
Yeah.
thinking and feeling that you don't have enough, therefore your outside reflects the fact that you don't. have enough.
Yeah.
But we're gonna take a really quick commercial break, and when we get back, I wanna dive into the super consciousness.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So, I really want to dive into the mechanisms of the super consciousness. What is super consciousness, and what is that all about?
Yeah, so the superconscious mind is the mind that your spirit uses within the fifth dimension. And the
Mhm,
fifth dimension is space, right? So, like I was talking about the three dimensions, latitude, longitude, and altitude. We are freely able to move in these different directions and things, but we're locked in the present moment. So we cannot move through time. We're locked in the ever evolving present moment. We can't go into the future or the past. But in the fourth dimension, we have the freedom to move into all of the infinite possibilities in the future and all of the infinite possibilities in the past. And but we're still locked within this singular point of this vessel, this physical body, or within the fourth dimension, the soul. And so we can't experience outside of our body and in our body at the same time. Like I can't experience myself and you at the same time. I can't experience myself and the plant across the room at the same time. But within the fifth dimension, we are now free of that limitation because we can freely move through that dimension of space as well. And
mm,
so that's where you can better understand the true nature of reality, which is interconnectedness. Part of the superconscious mind is the cosmic consciousness, which is
mm,
also people sometimes call it Christ consciousness or Buddha consciousness. And they call it that because that is the state of mind, the consciousness that those individuals would resonate at regularly. That was their just everyday regular state of mind, is not in the conscious mind. They're seated deep in the superconscious mind. And
mm,
so that's why they would always talk about, loving your brother as yourself, communing with nature and everything and connecting with nature and understanding that we are all one essence and connected, and so that is that when you better understand the realm that the superconscious mind operates in, then it's easier to understand the mechanics of the superconscious mind, which, like I talked a little bit about the duty and the purpose of the subconscious mind. Well, the superconscious mind also has like a duty and a purpose, and its purpose is to hold the blueprint that we have all created for ourselves.
mm,
So whenever you kind of get lost in where you're wanting to go in life and things, you can always go within and connect with your spirit and rediscover that blueprint. Just like a carpenter who's trying to build a building, if he gets lost and starts scratching his head, like, hold on, man, I could have swore the wall was supposed to go right there. I was doing so great up until now, but
mm,
now I'm lost and confused on what I was doing. He can go back to the trailer at the head office and recheck the blueprint and get reacquainted with exactly where he's at in this moment and time of that project. And same thing with you. You can connect with your spirit and go within and rediscover exactly where you are at within the blueprint of your own life, within your soul's blueprint.
mm,
And the way one way you can do that is through your breath, because the word spirit, our spirit is our vehicle within the fifth dimension. And so the word spirit comes from the Greek word spiritus, which comes from the Latin word spirare, which means breath. And so your breath is one of the number one tools that you have to connect with your spirit, to go within the superconscious mind and access this blueprint.
mm. Wow. When people talk about their higher selves and getting in touch with their higher selves, is that really what they're talking about or referring to when you say get in touch with your spirit?
Um, some people might be talking about that when they're describing it. But your higher self, your true self, is actually beyond the spirit. It
Mhm,
is your consciousness, and so your consciousness uses the spirit as a vehicle to traverse that higher dimension, that resonates at a higher frequency, just like it uses the physical body,
mm,
and so um so some people may be describing, using that term to describe that, but the true self, the real self, is actually beyond the spirit even.
Wow. Well, Tarak, we only have about a minute or so left. Is there anything that you wanna leave with the audience before we go?
Yes, the number one thing that I would want to leave everyone who's listening with is do not believe a single word you just heard me say. Don't believe none of it. But I say that because, I like to use the term metaphysics because it's a scientific term, and so I always implore people to be a scientist, be a metaphysician, and don't rely on belief, because I could just be, BSing everybody up here just because, just so you would put me on the show. Hey, it sounds good. you know, you never know. You'll be reliant upon believing whether I'm actually telling the truth or not. But you don't want to be like that. You want to discover what's true for yourself. So I always implore people to, instead of believing something, know something. And the difference between believing and knowing is experience. So find ways to create an experience for yourself. That's why in the different things that I've talked about in answering the questions in the conversation we've had, I've sprinkled in, we'll try doing this, try working with the breath to connect with the spirit. So give yourself an experience to find out if that truly is going to happen or not. Then that's how we generate our own knowledge. So that's what I would leave everybody with: is be a scientist, create your own experiences, and generate your own knowledge. And don't believe me.
Wow, I love that. I love the idea of go do your own research, and that
Exactly.
goes for anything in life. Do your own research and make
Hmm.
sure that you truly understand, 1, what you're trying to practice, and what's going on
Yeah.
in life. Diving more deeply into really the different layers of consciousness. I wanna talk more about the Akashic Records
Hmm.
and, just the different mechanisms. Oh, one thing that you were talking about on your site is applied metaphysics. Is that what you were
Hmm.
leaning towards when you were saying, using the breath when people talk about pranayama and
Yeah.
meditation? So,
Yeah.
applied metaphysics?
Yeah, and also, even more so, what I was talking about at the very end, applying this stuff into your life, because we could sit up here and talk about it all day long, but what
Right,
does that really do for us? It just makes us sound good. But when we truly apply it to our life, that's when we initiate change, initiate growth, initiate transformation, and that's when we really gain and garner more understandings. The understandings are the foundation that stand under us, that we are built upon and stand upon to truly, be who we are.
right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So where would you recommend people start? Because one thing that often comes up in conversation when I say, well, meditation, but how do
Mhm.
you start meditating if your mind is so uh discombobulated? How do you gain clarity?
I well, I'll answer that question in 1 second. I'll say that concentration is where I would suggest to start, and I'll circle
Mhm.
back to that. But I also, as far as meditation, I don't really like to teach like a still mind meditation, which is what
Mm,
most people teach and talk about, and what most people have the most difficulty with. And that's why I don't really teach. I mean, I do teach it like to the mentees and things. I have a great still mind meditation for them. That's perfect for expanding your third eye and things. But anyways, um, I like to teach active meditations,
mm,
and part of that is because the nature of the mind is motion. So if you allow yourself to meditate with the mind still having some motion,
mhm,
then it's a lot easier to have the experience of the meditation, because the activity itself is not meditation. You
right.
can you can do the activity all day long and never meditate.
Mm,
Meditation is a state of being. It's like a resonance. You are meditating. So
mm,
really, when you do the activity, the meditation doesn't actually begin. Like if you do a meditation with your eyes closed, your meditation doesn't actually begin until you open your eyes. Like for
mm.
anybody who's meditated, that first open your eyes, that first feeling, what I mean, that you
It's
get when you
weird.
first open your eyes, yeah. But that is meditation, and that's when it truly begins. Because then the key is, how can I carry that? How far into my day can I carry this experience? Can I
Oh,
carry this feeling? And it takes little willpower and concentration, but that's where I would suggest people to start, is with concentration, because concentration is your ability to control your attention, and your attention is your greatest commodity. I say in one of my songs, I say, you may not understand how important your attention is, but you better believe these corporations and companies know
they
how important your attention is. They spend billions to capture it. So find ways to control your attention through concentration.
mhm,
And so I would suggest doing like a 5 minute concentration exercise every single day and start there, because then that's going to allow you to be more open to see what the universe around you and the environment without around you and within you is going to guide you to what is your next step. And so that's definitely what I would suggest. It's a lot harder,
right,
um, and not as fun as, if I gave you a different breathing technique that's fun, or a meditation, a guided meditation or something, or active meditation. It's not as thrilling as any of those things, but it will afford you more benefit than any of those, because concentration is needed to go deeper with meditation. Concentration is needed for astral projection. Concentration is needed for mental perception. Concentration is needed for any spiritual ability or gift or experience you're trying to have, or create for yourself.
interesting. So you're saying that people should concentrate on maintaining that state of blissfulness that you feel when you come out of meditation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, what's it for? I mean, yeah,
Right.
you felt great while you were, sitting in the corner of the room, but now you have to go to work where you're usually stressed out. So
Mhm.
yeah, you felt great during meditation, but if you can't carry that feeling to work where you actually need it,
Right.
then what's it really doing for you? So you need to apply it.
Mhm.
Because that's why I talk about being a metaphysician. Because it's a scientific term, like I said. And so, be a scientist. What do scientists do? They create their own research. And what do they do with the research? They go into a laboratory, a controlled environment.
Mhm.
I mean, even when they're doing their different researches, it's like, oh, we have to have this group and this group, and then we have to have a control group.
Mhm.
So you've orchestrated and controlled within this particular environment that is safe from outer influence. I'm going to find my research and studies and discover things for myself.
Mhm.
But then that research has no value unless there's a way to incorporate it into the outer world. And so
Mhm.
then when you do have these different exercises and things that you practice, and your meditation practice, how do you get to that state? Observe and watch the mechanics of your mind unfold to
Mhm.
take you from here into a different state of consciousness, so that when everything's going on around you and it's more chaotic, your boss is sending you emails, your coworker trying to talk to you about lunch.
Mhm.
I mean, you're trying to avoid this other person who's always distracting you. You have all this stuff
Right.
going on. Okay, how do I then do the same thing that I did before without all this outer distraction? How do I recreate that for myself now when I truly need it the most?
Right. I love your
Yeah.
approach of, it's not a one size fits all type thing. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you really have to go out there and find what works for you. Because when you
Exactly.
start coming across these whole things about, different ways of meditation, what is meditation? What is yoga? It's a multitude of information and facts and people you can talk to about it, but really
Yeah.
what it boils down to is what works best for you. What's the best
hmm
practice for you, and what's gonna get you to where you're trying to go? Where are you trying to go? First of
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
what are your goals
Exactly.
before we even get
Exactly.
started? But I know I wanna hone in on that just a little bit more, but when we talk
hmm
about active versus, still meditation, is
hmm
active meditation when you focus on the breath or when you're focusing on, uh, a thought or something? Because I know what a lot of times with
I
stillness
mean,
meditation.
active meditation is anything. Like a still mind meditation is where you are, closing off the senses to your outer body
Mhm,
and moving the attention within, and trying to, the conscious mind is what I mean by still mind, stilling the conscious mind from all the thoughts that are going in, because conscious mind is aggressive, the subconscious mind is receptive. It's two halves to a whole. And so the better we can do at stilling the conscious mind, then the easier it is for the subconscious mind thoughts to flow in.
mhm,
You can have a whole bunch of intuitive thoughts waiting, but until you still or at least give it a moment of stillness, it's not going to get through. And so that's what I mean by still mind meditation is a meditation designed to still the conscious mind so you can receive and connect with and unify the subconscious and superconscious.
mhm,
Now, active meditation, I mean, that could be anything. You know, um, LeBron James, I'm sure basketball is a meditation for him a lot
mhm,
of days. I'm sure other people can talk. I had one guy, it wasn't like a mentee or anything, but I had this regular uh broadcast that I would come on to like once a week, and he was a regular on there. And he would talk about when I we did an episode on meditation, and he was like, the way you describe that, I get that feeling when I'm doing my RC cars. So he gets like these $10,000 RC cars and goes and races them on these big tracks. And he's
Mhm,
like, I'm so scatterbrained, ADHD, and all this, but when I'm ride driving my AC cars, RC cars, you know, uh, I just the whole world just melts away, and it's
right.
just me in the car, and I'm connected there. I said, "That's meditation. That's an active meditation for you." And he's like, "Yeah, because when I after I get done doing it, whether I win or lose, I feel so much better.
Mhm,
All the other things that were worrying and stressing me melt away." So active meditation could be doing the laundry could turn into a meditation for somebody all of a sudden. But different ones that I teach. One is looking at the blue sky.
mhm,
Go to the park and lay down and just look at the blue sky. That's an activity for you to do that will bring you back to your center for different metaphysical principles and things that I could go on for 30 minutes about. But another one that I like to do is um, well, breathing exercises are active meditations. But another one is I like to take a deep breath in and pull all of the energy within my body down to my abdomen. And then when I breathe out, move the energy up out the top of my head. That's
mhm,
an active meditation that you can do. Another one is visual, like your gravity, the Earth's gravitational pull is pulling your energy down. That's why a
mhm,
lot of people are so like sex driven and things because their
mhm,
energy is continually being isolated into their loins, into their root chakra, and
mhm,
their energy is kind of stuck there. And so another active meditation you can do is act consciously and using your willpower and your attention. And because energy moves off of intention, so
mhm,
just your imagination, imagining it alone will have an effect until you can learn to perceive energy within your body. But just imagine the energy from the base of your spine moving up to the top of your spine,
mhm,
and just see like me, I see like a kind of like when they kick a lightsaber on for the first time and it's
mhm.
pulsating like boom, 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 kind of like that. I see it like that, like there's just this flow, this energy flowing in this surge going up my spine. And so that's a great active meditation that'll also help elevate your energy because you're literally going to be doing that is, elevating your energy.
Interesting. So, do you actually feel more energized after you do this? I know there's a
Oh
practice
yeah.
called, Kriya Yoga, where they
Mhm.
talk about it's a form of pranayama where you use your breath and some muscle tension to pull that energy up. Do you feel I know you feel the energy like you said, but what am I trying to get at? When you do this, do you feel that kundalini rising? Do you feel the activation in your pineal? Do you feel your crown chakra opening? What's going on there?
Well, it's gonna depend. It's gonna be different for each person, and it's probably gonna be different every time, depending on what's going on with your energy and your energy centers. Each individual was going to naturally have more energy centers that are more active than others,
Mm,
more energy centers that have more energy flowing through them and can flow through more easily than others. And depending on where you're at in any given part of the day, it's going to be fluctuate also for each individual. So, just once you start working with the energy in your body, it'll become easier and easier to perceive the subtle differences in energy, and it'll be easier to perceive where the more concentrated energy is, where the energy is flowing, where has it gone to. And so, I suggest, like I said, like you said, um, you know, it's different for different people, different strokes for different folks. So work with yourself, understand yourself, and understand how your energy flows, where you need to have more energy flowing to, and just practice and work with it, and become more adept at your own energy flow.
So you were talking about using your imagination to start with
Mhm.
feeling energy, but are there any other practices that an individual can use that might be more tangible in the form of feeling their energy for the first time?
Um, yeah, yeah, concentration, attention. Like for example, well, just for example, right now, like just close your eyes and just scan your body and see if you can feel like where do you feel more energy in your body right now?
Personally, I can feel the energy all around me,
Mhm,
but I started being able to have this interesting sense of energy, uh,
mhm.
maybe it's about a year or so ago. But, to answer your question, I feel most of the energy in my abdomen, stomach area.
Your
Yeah.
abdomen?
Yeah,
Okay,
and I know
okay,
what it is because there I have so much I have
yeah,
blockages energetically that I've been trying
mhm,
to work through,
okay.
with the energy.
Where's 1?
Where's one?
Yeah,
One
yeah,
of my
where's
blockages, I would say, is in the first one that came to mind was the sacral, in the sacral chakra area.
mhm,
You know,
okay, so that's kind of where it's concentrated right now?
yeah,
Okay, well, let's do this. Because have you ever heard energy flows where the attention goes?
yes.
Yeah, exactly. What you put your attention on grows.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's why I said concentration is exactly what we would do. So put your hands together like this. Okay, not necessarily up here. You don't have to do it up here, but I
Don't
just
show the camera.
I'm showing you. Yeah, and then just put all of your attention on there's going to be a pocket right where your palms are, a pocket
Right,
in the center
yeah,
of your. So put all of your attention and continue to hold your attention in that pocket within the center of your hands,
mhm.
and continue to hold your attention there. Continue to give more attention to your hands. And not necessarily even just that pocket. If that's difficult for anyone, then just feel your hands all over your hands, your fingers, your palms, the back of your hands. Just continue to put your attention on your hands. Really feeling your hands. If you've started to like just naturally tighten them up, loosen them, loosen your grip a little bit, and just feel your hands. Okay, and then now stop and put your hands back on your lap. And now, do your hands feel totally different?
Yeah, you definitely feel that warmth and the tingling, you know?
Yeah, like mine are like pulsating. I mean, I work with my hand chakras all the time, but mine are like "Whoom, whoom,
Yeah.
whoom." and so and so you've just moved some energy from, like for me, previous to that, I felt a lot of energy in like my neck and my heart, like center right here. And now my hands
Mm,
are have so much more energy in them than up here.
yeah.
And so I've moved the energy.
Mhm.
And And so you can just do different things with your attention and moving energy in your body, and then you can get better and better at feeling it and perceiving it. For some people, with their hands, it might have been like for me, it's always like this pulsing, like kind of like in Tom and Jerry when a hammer smashes their hand, it's just like whoa, whoa, like that's
Right.
how it feels for me. But for some people, it might be like it feels really hot or it feels really cold,
Mhm.
or it's like lots of little tingling going on. The sensation is going to be different for everybody, but that's going to be a way in which you can kind of work with that yourself to perceive these different things and start working with the energy. And that's one definite mechanism which I've suggested before of controlling your attention.
For sure, I will say that, I could feel the energy move from my stomach area to my hands, and I was just like, "Oh, wow,
Hmm.
maybe I should do that more frequently." Because usually when I do my meditations, I focus on just opening and balancing my energy and balancing my
Hmm.
chakras, and I know that the reason why a lot of my lower chakras have been, we'll say, depleted, it just has to do with a lot of things that happened earlier on in my life,
Hmm.
and as I
Yeah,
started
yeah.
progressing in my spiritual journey, that's when I was just like, "Okay, I really need to start working on these things."
Hmm.
But I also have had throat chakra issues for years, and
Mm.
it's funny to me, I talk about it sometimes on the show. It's funny because I never thought that I'd be able to get up and do something like this and just have
Yeah.
conversations with people, and that was honestly my favorite thing in the day to do.
Nice, nice, beautiful.
You mentioned how you do a lot of work with, your hand chakras and the energies in your hand. Are you
Hmm.
referring to things such as Reiki and healing?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Me, I don't really practice anymore. I mean, for like maybe like 10 years now, like energy healing on others. I mean, like my family or something, I'll okay, come over here and work with it. But also because I also work with them on the mental, but mainly because if I have some sort of physical issue going on and I remove that symptom energetically using my hand chakras, I may think that I'm healed, but unless
Mhm,
I eliminate the root, which is the mind, because thought is cause. Our thoughts create our reality. So unless I do that, then I'm not actually uprooting it. Just like I can go out to the garden and pull a weed, and it may look like it's gone, but unless I pull away that root, that weed's going to slowly grow back and manifest into the outer a reality above ground. Just like if I don't uproot that within my mind, it's going to slowly manifest into my outer physical reality to where I can see it and perceive it through a symptom of some kind. But yes, that is what I'm talking about. But you can use it for so much more than just like healing and things.
mhm,
Like one thing that I use it for, I do teach and share this, and to be able to make it as free as possible in what I do. I also have a day job, selling mortgage,
mhm,
and I also use my hand chakras on the electronic equipment that I use to be able to move the energy to communicate with the electronics on what things I wanted to create for me.
mm,
And I first learned this a long time when I first got into metaphysics and things. I was learning about chakras and things and hand chakras, and I've healed myself of a serious heart issue that was going on for like 2 years, and something growing on the back of my head for like the previous year. And
mhm,
then I found out about hand chakras. Started. I was like, okay, let me figure this out, and if it's really real, let's put it to the test right now because I have some stuff I need to heal. And within 30 days, both were completely gone, and haven't seen a sign of them since. And that was like 11, 12 years ago. But
mhm,
anyways, shortly after that, I'm at a friend's house playing Madden. All my other friends are there, and the friend that I'm playing against is one who nobody's really beating him a whole lot this version of Madden.
mhm,
And his best friend is standing over both of our shoulders, and he's talking a bunch of trash to me. And I'm starting to learn a lot about energy and the flow of energy, and I'm realizing, you know what, Dave is giving me a lot of energy right now. It's a lot of hate. I mean, he's hating on me, but it's energy, and I know that energy is neutral, and so he has it charged a certain way. But once I receive it, it becomes my energy to do with what I want. And
mhm,
so, and I'm getting stomped right now. Like I'm down 21-0. They're talking about pass the sticks, and I'm like, nah, hold on. And so I'm like, so I just start using my breath to push the energy through my hands, and like out of nowhere, like he throws a pick six, like all this stuff just starts happening just for me, and I'm not even paying attention to the game anymore. Like
right,
I'm completely internal and paying attention to just the energy I'm receiving, and moving it out my hands into the controller. I'm not even giving it any direction of what to do within the controller because I'm very early on with this. And so I just know that I'm feeding the energy that Dave's giving me. I'm transmuting it inside myself and moving it through the controller. And
mhm.
next thing I know, I beat him like 14, by 14 points. And
Oh,
everybody's like, oh, they're all like shocked, like I had this comeback of the year. But I just know all I was doing was moving the energy into the electronics. And so from that point, I've then practiced a lot of different things like that. And the more that I'm aware of it, I put it to practice and things. But yeah, you can use your hand chakras to work with energy in so many different ways. So many different
interesting.
ways.
So when I start losing
Yeah.
the game, I, like, focus into the controls.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. But
you were
it's a
speaking
game,
about
it's all about willpower,
yeah,
which is kind of one thing I wanted to touch on when you're talking about your throat chakra, because the energy of the throat chakra is all about willpower.
right,
So any game, it's who has the most willpower and who's willing themselves to get there. Who is implementing the most energy to manifest what they are desiring over the other's willpower. Like on a football, we all just watch the Super Bowl. You have the momentum. It's just all about all of the energy going into it. And something like the football game, the Super Bowl versus a pee wee game or a high school game, you have millions of people feeding energy into this
right,
willpower of what manifests. But anyways, that's just all what it's about. So not necessarily, if you were losing anything that you were doing solely, but in comparison to the will of the other individual, you know,
right.
and what they were doing, because that's also going to come into play as far as how much willpower they have, as far as how many hours they put in before this. How many times were they playing Madden by themselves just to be
Right,
able to have that will and get better, versus where you're just I'm like more of a casual guy. I'll play with my friends I mean, I don't even know the last time, but the willpower really comes into play
for sure.
in
What is
that.
it that, practice will beat out technique and skill every time?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Practicing
absolutely.
spiritual was definitely gonna be a little bit just a little bit better than the person that's naturally good at it. But
Yeah.
there's something you said a moment ago about, um, if you didn't uproot the thought or didn't uproot the cause in your mind, then you didn't
Mhm.
really get rid of it. How does one uproot something that was negative, or how do they uproot a thought that they no longer wish to have there?
Yeah, well, you have to first identify the root.
Mm,
So and that's why I like to talk about like the structure of the mind and wrote the book on it. Not like I wrote the book on it, but I wrote a book on this ancient knowledge. But because it's so paramount and vital to everything else that I share, it's
mm,
built upon that. And so it's the awareness is going to be the first thing. Just like if you're not aware of what's going on beneath the surface, the physical that you see and the aggressive conscious mind that's always at the forefront. If you're not aware of what's beneath that, then it's going to be very hard for you to uproot anything. Just like if you're not aware of the fact that plants have an entire existence below ground and you're only aware of the plant's existence above ground, you're never going to uproot that weed either.
mhm,
And so how do you uproot a weed? Well, unless you're very proficient at being able to grab it at the base and really pull it out to where the whole root comes with it, you're going to have to dig it out. So you're going to have to dive deep, get your hands dirty, get in the mud and really unearth what's down there and examine, okay, is this still a part of the weed of the same plant or is this
mm,
connected to something else? Is this a bulb to a flower that's been waiting to sprout, but the weed has been taking up all the nutrients? Oh, I should leave that there. Or this is part of the weed, I should pull it out. So the same thing with your mind, you need to really examine and dive deep and dig in of what's really there. So like for example, the manifestation thing that I talked about earlier of like I need more money.
mhm,
What's at the core of that? Like you talked about lack consciousness and things that a lot of us experience. Well, the lack consciousness is at the root is your own value because your outer reality is going to reflect your inner reality. And so if your outer reality is reflecting to you a lack of value, then that's because in your inner reality, you lack a self value and self worth. And
mm,
so that's how you can uproot that weed, and then change. And the more that the better that you get at uprooting that weed and building and strengthening your self value, you're going to see your outer life and outer environment reflect that same change back to you.
mm. Interesting. What about people who say that they have past life trauma or ancestral trauma? How would you first, what are your thoughts on that? And then how would you uproot something that's like
Hey, we all do. It's called karma.
that?
It's
Right.
called karma. But for some, it's more in your face than others. For some, we've alleviated a lot more karma than others. For some, we've spent lifetimes trying to relieve some karma. And what I mean by karma, karma is just two halves of your soul purpose, or one half of your soul purpose. You have the karma and the dharma. Karma is just what you have to receive, the understandings that you can build into yourself through the life lessons that you have the opportunity to learn. It's not necessarily like what goes around comes around. It's what can I understand? So like for example, if I come into this lifetime needing to understand leadership, needing to understand communication, needing to understand forgiveness, needing to understand self-love, then
Mm,
I'm going to cultivate for myself and design a life that provides me with the opportunity to learn what forgiveness truly means,
mm,
with an opportunity to learn what self love really means, with an opportunity to learn what leadership really means. And so that's your karma, what you have to learn in this life. Whereas the dharma is what you have to give, the understandings you've already built, spent lifetimes building. Me, my natural self, just existing and centered within, I exude confidence, or I exude responsibility, or I exude, charm, or I
mm,
exude joy, and so people around me can learn from that just by being in my presence. And so all of us can kind of identify different things about ourselves. So I sometimes say, what would your best friend say is your best quality?
mm,
And whatever they say is probably attached to your dharma, what you have to give just by being your natural self. But the karma is what you have to receive, and that's what you're asking about. So we have different lifetimes where there's things that are sometimes were really hard for us to learn,
Mhm,
or maybe we, cause someone else to experience something, which means we've built up new karma, and now we need to understand what we've caused this other person to experience. And so that's where the whole what goes around comes around comes into play, because the time between when it comes back around, we have space to learn and build that understanding, but most of us don't choose to do it. I had a relationship with this person. It was a terrible relationship. They were beating on me, and I just left the relationship. I didn't learn from nothing from it. And then
mhm,
I'm telling my friends, "Hey, I found this new girl. What I mean? It's amazing. Things are going great." 4 months later, she's beating on me too, but now
yeah,
she's beating on me emotionally and mentally. And so I'm not I let me just leave it, and I don't learn from it. But I'm just getting out of there until
mhm,
I finally actually learn. Then I can eliminate that cycle. And now, the lesson may have been about self-worth and self-value. And then now I'm with someone and in a new relationship where I'm coming full, instead of going in circles, I've now upcycled, and I've come all the way back around because I'm on a spiral with this learning, and I'm on a new level with it. So now I'm still learning about self-worth and self-value, but since I've learned those lessons to value myself, now I'm with a partner who pushes me, to, or who draws me in to learning about self-worth and self-value because of the way that they love me. It now makes me want to build my self-value versus beating me down on it. You need to face
right,
this, so it's the same lesson, but it's a whole different level. And so sometimes that can we can really see that in our lives and play out, whether it's like a relationship with a boss or a type of
mhm,
job. I got a new job, man. This job's different. I mean, this boss is amazing. And then 4 months later, your boss is so amazing, they got a promotion all the way out to Albuquerque. Now you have a new boss that's just like the last boss.
mhm,
you know and so we can see how those different cycles can play out in our lives. But for some of us, who, when it's been difficult to learn within lifetimes, we then will create extreme circumstances for ourselves within the current lifetime, to where it's like it's unavoidable. We are going to make sure we learn this time around.
yeah,
It's no longer wasting any time. We are going to be born into a circumstance that's going to make us face this you
yeah.
know
I heard recently and someone talking about how the universe, God, whatever you want, however you wanna call it, when there's a lesson that needs to be learned, you're gonna get
Mhm.
nudged, you're gonna get nudged, you get nudged, then you're gonna get pushed and then
Yeah.
thrown into the weeds. "No, you need to learn this lesson before you can move on."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I think it's funny
But
how
it
Go ahead.
and it's because it's part of that blueprint, you know? Like people talk about destiny and free will, both exist. That blueprint is your destiny that you have created for yourself. And so it's like, look, we've designed that we will learn this lesson, okay? But it's destiny. We all have free will. Nah, I ain't gonna learn it today. I'm not learning it today. Nah, I'm not learning it today. Nah, I'm not learning it. Hey, we're learning it, or we're going through something major. You're going to really have to work to not face this. you know yeah,
Why
yeah.
do you think people are so resistant to change and learning?
Well, it's fear, because like I said earlier on, fear is a matter of unawareness.
Mm,
And so i'm I would rather stay the same, even though it's painful. I'm aware of what that pain is like, and I know that I can handle it because I've been handling it. So as long as the pain is the same, I would rather remain the same instead of changing, and it could get better or it could get worse. you know. And so, I mean, each person is different, but for the most part, that's the main thing with most people is unawareness. They're unaware of what's on the other side. They're unaware of what life looks like being different.
mhm,
Me, I'm in a whole different lifetime than I was, 12, 13 years ago.
bro.
And because of the
Same.
growth I've had. Yeah. And so, like I could tell you a story, and it happens, I'll tell stories of how I used to be when I was younger, in my mid to early 20s and teenage years, and
Yeah.
people just laugh and don't believe it. Like, Man, because I joke around a lot. So like, yeah, that's another joke. It's like, no, that's how I used to be. It is not good.
Yeah,
So,
I do the same thing, people I have a picture on my Facebook that I haven't taken down. I was gonna take it down a while ago, and,
yeah,
I didn't take it down because I was like, it's a reminder, at least at this point, it's a reminder of me to me how far I've come. Because I was
yeah,
just like that I used to be used to be crazy. Crazy
Absolutely.
was crazy to me, I'm sure to a lot of people,
Yeah.
it's perfectly fine. But, just the things I used to do back in the day. Same thing like you said, is the late teens, early 20s, early to mid-20s. And
Mhm.
I was it was in the process of me finding myself and discovering really who I was. But to be honest with you, it wasn't until I hit 30 that I felt as if there was a drastic shift,
Mhm.
and it was leading up to that, so around, like, 20 I think I was, like,
Mm.
29,
That makes
where
sense.
where I
Yeah.
was
The
just like
Saturn return.
yep, that's exactly what it is, and
Yeah.
I was getting into that process as I was ready to change, and then
Mhm.
30 was the first time when somebody asked me, "How do you feel on your birthday?" I feel different, like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Beautiful.
different.
Beautiful.
But that's
Nice.
about all the time that we have for today. I wanna thank you for,
Okay.
staying on, a little bit
Yeah,
more,
dive
dive a little bit more deeply into these topics. And
Yeah.
I wanna definitely have you back on to talk about some more stuff because I just
Yeah,
love your
anytime.
approach to metaphysics
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
your thought
I
process.
enjoy it.
And I wanna
Yeah, I
thank
could
every
I could go on for hours until you
Oh,
cut
yeah,
me
please
off.
do
I go.
that. I'm definitely all about it. And I wanna thank everybody who stuck around to the end to watch this entire episode.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Have a good one, everyone. Bye.
All right. Peace.